Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the FTD Virtual Design Show titled American Floral Trends 2025 to 2026, Your Gateway to Inspiration, featuring FTD Education Consultant J. Keith White, AIFD. As a quick housekeeping note, Keith will be taking questions at the end of the session. So if you have a question, please type it in the question box on your control panel. Feel free to submit your questions throughout the session. All right, let's get started. Welcome, Keith.
Thank you so much, Janet, and welcome to the American Floral Trends forecast for the years coming up, 2025 and 2026. The whole process with American Floral Trends is that there is an entire team of consultants that we continue to collaborate for at least 1 year, if not more, on, and to come up with the best of the best for each one of the 5 trends for 25 and 26. When we're looking at colors and key colors per trend is how it all gets started. With the key colors, we decide on, again, with 5 trends, 5 key colors. And working with Design Master exclusively on our color selections for florists, we also look at global influences, where those take place and how prevalent some of the European trends are. Also, South American trends. We look worldwide on product development and things coming down the pike with some great product development people, such as Accent Decor or Charlie with Porch View Home. And again, many others that have involvement in it. But Design Master is our first go-to person as far as establishing those key colors and then also establishing other colors, 5 additional colors that will work well for the floral industry itself because of all the fresh flowers involved for each one of the trends. So just because one company says the color of the year, we think of it as the colors of the years for 25, 26. And this gives a great potential as far as merchandising goes in your store, purchasing items, but also your whole gamut of knowing and understanding color, which is so important in our floral industry to understand each one of the color palettes that have been put together for you in each one of those 5 trends. When we are developing other things, I have people like Laura Dowling, who is phenomenal with color and texture. I have another designer well known, Hitomi, for her little detail work and her keen sense of color from Canada. So again, we bring in all these different influences and influencers because we want to look at how all these color palettes not only translate to us as floral designers or floral owners, but how and what the consumer is going to do with those color palettes and how they're going to resonate throughout the industry when we are choosing and selecting the color and also key flowers that are going to be important to each one of these trends, are literally a broadcast or a broad spectrum of flowers that are going to be the top 5 flowers for 25 or 26 that play that role in the American floral trends. When we are establishing things, we also look at relatively retail industry with people such as John Regan with the Twisted Stem, George or Jorge Urbe, both having retail outlets and what they foresee and their feedback and influence. So we can continue to collaborate and curate everything to the finest detail that goes into the trends. There's a lot to learn with the trends, and of course, with FTD being such a pro and being with them for so long, education, again, is the key to success. And when you want to look at the entire package, Janet will mention this to you also, but the website is AmericanFloralTrends.com, and that will give you a inside view, not only with this video, but again, that print flip book medium that is 38 pages with each one of the trends in it, and gives all the different influences from different people other than my hand doing all the design work. And so with today's representation of all the designs, I was able to accomplish all these designs. I want to say me, myself, and I've traveled with a few of them. And so you'll get to see a full gamut of design styles. We talked about, is there a style for America? And having worked with FTD on the selection guides for many years and many years past, I want to say, we always looked at that regional areas. What is available regionally in different parts of even the US, and what's acceptable in different parts of the US? It's much like terminology. Where things take place within the United States itself. Is it sunny Miami, Florida, or the gray Northwest? So we have to take in consideration a kind of a broader spectrum of each one of these trends, that it is relatable to each and every one. When you're picking and choosing a trend, this time around, people have said, I can't pick a favorite. I love them all, which is great news to me. But also knowing your marketplace, who are you catering to, and what influence does your store want to have on that consumer? It could be the full gamut of all 5 trends. If you have a specific niche marketplace that is so tight that you want to relate to one type of customer or one look for a customer, I'm sure you'll find it in one of these 5 trends. That's going to be a given. We've done enough research and development. And the research and development is also being provided by the AIFD Foundation with a generous grant they supply to American Floral Trends, so we can do all this research, because it is a incredibly time consuming back and forth and really reviewing the social trends, different influencers, again, the media, what is happening, what is on the forecast for the future for these years. And again, this program was released in July at AIFD in Orlando. And so we're giving you a 6-month jump. When can you start using these trends? I say start once this camera is turned off. Start in. People have already told me, you know what, I'm incorporating this in my fall. I'm incorporating it in Christmas. You should be that leader in floral trends for the key color combinations that go together. Of course, they'll be in full swing, and we'll have to relate to some things such as our first trend. I want to look at just a couple of things in the industry that are going to play an important role as far as color combinations. When we do color combinations and color materials, and we're looking at floral materials, we also look at textiles being an important role. Dee Stevens is spot on, not only with her textiles and ribbon color combinations, but this particular one shows combinations of the oranges and the lavender colors. I won't have to say much more about this particular color, Pacific Blue, the beautiful combination of the velvet that's being brought in, and the colors that are adaptable and relatable. So we look at Pacific Blue as being one of those key colors for our first trend, which is Embrace. When we look at Embrace and that color trend, we want to look at how the combinations of colors are going to work together. And when we are choosing those selections of colors, we want to look at, once again, a key color. And the key color is that Pacific Blue. So when we look at Pacific blue and we're trying to decide, what color flowers go with this? Well, as we know, there's not many, if not at all. So take, in fact, when we talk about key colors in each trend, is to take that color and maybe use it as a container, maybe use it as a ribbon, maybe use it as, again, the wall color. At Windward, I use this on the showroom wall. Incredible the colors that gravitate and bounce off to that. When we are looking at other color combinations of blues, we also have an ice blue that comes into play with a Pacific blue. It's not as saturated, it's a little bit softer, and you can take um, other colors such as relatable to the floral industry, and we bring in colors such as yellow, yellow. People gravitate towards yellow, yellow because it is vibrant, it causes excitement. And with the trend embrace, that embraces the fire, and we call it an earth element, the fire that's within us. And so with fire, we also have what? The tangerine color, a brighter orange. And again, with the flames, we have blue flames. So that fire within us, we have to look at other combinations that play an important role in this, which is also olive bright and the hyacinth. So we have now our 6 key color combinations, or one key color will be the Pacific blue, with all of our colors that work for the floral industry separated there. So with the first design, I'd like to bring over to you and show you just a glimpse of yellow, yellow. And when we look at yellow, yellow, you can tell the combination of materials. Here we have a Chinese piece that has those combinations of the greens, the Pacific blue, and also some unique qualities about nostalgia. When we're looking at embrace, we want to feel like the trend is for me. It's not for everybody. I'm not the copycat that looks at a beige room and goes, I need a beige sofa, a beige rug, a beige this. It what makes you feel good. And that's where that consumer is going to play an important role in picking and choosing things from this trend called embrace, because it's the fire within, what makes us feel good, what we want to surround ourselves with. And of course, with the yellow, yellow playing that vibrant role, we look at fresh flowers, and you think about the natural part of it being, okay, one fresh flower. It's not a spray painted flower, meaning a flat one color. And so you look at nature and how nature gives us a lot of options and bridging of these color palettes together by looking at the dahlias or even the edging of a ranunculus that can play a part. The garden roses that might have that little oranger or reddish to orange tipping to it, but yet give us that vibrant yellow glow, that fire, the sun that's up there in floral combinations. When you are picking and choosing colors, this one, of course, is would be considered monochromatic or achromatic because they're all, analogous because the colors are really close to each other. And so when we add in your tints, tones, and shades, that's where we achieve, a beautiful collection. And it's not just that one flat color of yellow, yellow, but brings in all the different variations of yellow. And that is key when you're designing with the fresh materials, is that you can gravitate towards all of it. And then also you can see by bringing in just a little bit of the green here into it, um, that also helps it just exuberates and makes you excited even more by bringing in that green coloration to it. When we look at bringing in other colors, such as like the orange, and we want to look at how the orange can play a part. And if I can ask Elizabeth if she'll hand me over the orange arrangement, we said we were going to try to limit some movement up here, but it's so important to see the colorations. And yes, I'm small and my arrangements are big, but by giving you, once again, the container being the Pacific blue, you can see the resemblance and how you can use that color and not have it your floral materials. So now we'll talk about, again, on the flower side, the floral materials that can be combined in here. And once again, you can see I brought in the hyacinth. I have your tangerine color that's brought into it. And then also we have the Pacific blue as the base or your container color in this particular design. So when you're looking at the strong colorations of this tangerine and then a softer color, most people would put even darker purples together. But now with the trend being hyacinth, try it. Reduce the amount of purple and it's pretty cool what it looks like. As you can tell in here, the beautiful snapdragons and a lot of the parrot tulips. And then for seasonal availability, you can see I brought in a little bit of the pomegranate branch, the little tiny pomegranates along the side, again, with some fig foliage brought into it. One thing that happens with this particular trend is we want to look at surprise materials, such as the proteaceous materials brought into it. This one actually has the pincushion protea brought in several places and highlighted in the arrangement. That's what gives us that interest in, and I don't want to say normal flowers, but dahlias really going to be popular and are now, but wait, just wait how popular they'll become. Again, the beautiful snapdragons with their upward movement with the tropism that happens naturally in our design materials. And last but not least for this particular trend, I have a bouquet that was done. And when I say you want to take the best of the world that you have and what surrounds you and what makes you feel good, and people go, you really believe in these trends, don't you? And I say, I do. After this many years of working with this, I just love the education part and passing on what I know. And then how we can be inspired by such little things in life and how we can make it all come to fruition and make it work. So this particular design is an Art Nouveau piece that I've had. And I thought, I was looking around and I thought, oh my God, I have this from class. It is dried bear grass that's been wrapped. I also have brought in the armature structure of this piece. I've used it before it's dried. Again, with armatures, yes, they might take a little bit of time. My way is pretty fast, but I save those, and it's a way to reuse things. So I've brought in the ranunculus, and even Elizabeth, who's helping me today, she's like, where did you find that gorgeous alstroemeria? And I said, I could not pass that one up. So the alstroemeria, and I won't get into mechanics on every one of the designs, but you'll probably wonder how this was done. And I think back in the day when I started with wire and tape methods, and now we have all the different wires. I simply, when we were using this was such a great flower when it was introduced, rosaria. Oh my God, how could we live without the bridging colors of that pink and green? But now I brought it in with the literally tangerine and yellow on the center side. I did the Oasis spool wire, literally just did a wrap at the top, and that way it can be brought into the design and just simply attached to it, which causes what? Motion and movement within the design. And so when you look at using other materials that can be combined, if it's a found object, if something that inspires you, again, embrace it, make it work for you, and you'll have a hit. And again, show different things when you're merchandising to customers. Yes, we can do round arrangements, but maybe show them something a little outside the box when you're doing it. and you'll be happy that you did, and you can be the forerunner, not only of trends, but in design work itself. When we look at the next trend, it is actually called whisper. And I always want to say, whisper, whisper, whisper. Such a subtle hints of colorations that are brought into it. And you want to think of the earth element in this one as being the wind, something not like we're experiencing, or I hate to say the people in Florida, but uh, gentle breezes. And we've gone through some heavy breezes. So don't think of this as that strong breeze. Think of it as a subtle breeze. So in this particular trim, we have a color combination that are so soft. We have ivory, and we have honeycomb, which is a slight yellow butter color. And then we have the notorious blush. Yes, it continues on. Blush will be a factor. We brought in the actual heatherish uh, last 2 years ago, because this was one of those kind of key colors that are going to be prevalent. So we thought, let's keep it. It was such a nice addition to this soft palette. And then when we want to look at other softer colors that can play a role in this whisper trend, we have sky blue. And not to say this is on the baby side whatsoever, by bringing in the right combinations, you can achieve something that works really well. And also that key color or accent color of nature, the herbal, that gives us that soft green palette that works into it. When I mentioned sheer, things like this ribbon, uh, and we looked at the fashion industry. If you've watched any of the award shows, you see the women in their gowns, even men. Sheer things are happening in the fabric industry. So remember this: the sheerness plays an important role, and also the color combinations that work into it. When we're looking at interior design factors, we want to look at I want to say the proverbial beige home. And this is where Design Master and Gretchen Sale with Design Master, we talked about it. And so when you have containers such as like this windward one that has that ivory finished and then also a distressed finish to it, you'll see that in the floral portion of the design, we brought in the beautiful Cafe au lait dahlias into the design, snow on the mountain, some ivory garden roses, and then also the touches of hydrangea that abound in that same kind of ivory or blush color. So this whole color combination is really great, not only for weddings, but as a #1 trend as far as home design, home interior design go. And we had great response even at AIFD. Again, the Cafe au lait Dahlia has been around, but the beautiful, once again, how many colors are actually in that one flower itself. When we look at other items such as taller pieces, and you might be able to get a glimpse of the one right behind me, I brought in a little bit more yellow to it. Again, more of a grouping, more as far as combinations of those materials that play that role and give us a better combination instead of picking or choosing just even something as natural as, once again, for that arrangement I showed you here, the ivory honeycomb with a slight tinge of blush to it. Softness is going to prevail. And we look at this not only for home decor being so popular, but also this will be your #1 wedding palette. As in the past couple of years, we brought in that trend, and it was, again, took off like wildfire, I say. But now we want to whisper softly. and I've already had designers talking to me about their weddings for next year. What happened? All of a sudden, these brides don't want peach anymore. They want ivory, creams, almost white weddings. And I went, look out, because here it comes. So again, we took out that peach out of the wedding, and looking at other wedding pieces that can play a role. I'm going to hold this around, and you can see this is an armature bouquet again, simply made, but the breeze blows all the flowers that are really cascading off of this particular design, bringing in once again the blush that we have in the Phalaenopsis orchid with a little bit of the delphinium brought in, and then the hydrangea also that is in parts and pieces, individually wired, very similar to what I showed you previously with the Alstroemeria. Each one is wired and then suspended or intertwined within it. When you're doing design work and you're also looking for something that gives yourself the cut above or something else that's very special in design work and in teaching, I always talk about layers. You start out and you build your design itself, then you put in your main materials. But then again, where is that extra layer? So the extra layer in this comes in from the wire. Once again, an armature pre-made from Oasis that was literally placed on top like a veil on this design. So you can see now the color combinations. We did bring in that um, blue into here, but also a little bit of the herbal, and then once again, the blush. So we have that nice combination of the herbal, blue sky, and blush all brought in together against a silvery, cool background. And then with the breeze blowing, all the materials that dangle or cascade off the design itself. When we are looking at how to achieve other things such as softness in design, remember that it has to do with your selection of materials, again, with key flowers such as the dahlia, and then some of the delphiniums that are playing a part. And now we have, instead of tall delphinium, we have even some shorter varieties of delphinium that were introduced into the marketplace. And I'm sure if you check with your with FTD Flower Exchange, they'll most likely have those available now or right really soon, because they're very popular. So instead of that big spike that you were accustomed to with some of the different types of larkspur delphinium, we have a short version. I call it the stubby one that fits in any design without that spike. So it's a cool flower. Again, new introductions, new varieties of materials, and always keep your eye open for those. Check with your, FTD Flower Exchange or your local wholesalers of what is coming down the pike. Go in and see. I say we sell emotions, but I also say my mother said never touch or feel anything in the store, right? No, I was the one that had to touch and feel everything. I always say that. And that's why I'm here today, because it is, once again, a passion of mine that I want to see what is available in the marketplace. When we look at the next trend, we want to consider, I don't want to say the dark side, but when we were reviewing this as a group of consultants all together to curate this next trend, it was very disturbing in a way, the psychology part, when I was doing that part of the research on. But with the psychology behind the floral materials and what it brings to people, we want to say a smile. We're selling that emotion once again. And I wanted to say, hey, we don't want to talk doom and gloom here. We want to talk happiness. But also in ombre, the next trend, we look at these colors and we want to pull out colors that are related to space. And I'm talking about up there space, not around us space, but up above us as that earth element. And it is I want to say, dark, right? Black, flat black. Once you get past a point, it is dark. If we're looking back down as we see from telescopes, or we see from the space station, or we see from now almost commercialized space travel, people get a glimpse of what the Earth looks like, what the stars are really resembling. We have that golden glow in the sky of the stars. So we finally brought a metallic into one of the trends called gold metal. And so we have that one in this particular trend, but we also have a color called thicket. And with thicket, I was so pleased to read an article. Again, my research continues on, and it's just like Valspar releasing their color of the year for 2025 already. And I'll revert back to that first trend again. It is close to Pacific Blue as you can get. And so again, there is a consumerism part. They're already introduced to it. So you introduce these colors. And then I read an article about the dear Porsche car company. They teamed up with Pantone and came out with a new color called Turbonite. Love it. We might have seen it already, and not to say I'm already bored with it, but it's thicket. And so you'll be seeing the latest Porsches coming out in 2025, 26 with the color called Turbonite. So here we have that relationship, not to consumerism with colors, but also when you think about this color palette, it is very, very minimalist and very understated as far as colors go. So we picked and chose two different um, colors, purple and deep blue. So the purple and deep blue are those key colors in here where we have all the others as kind of that accent color. But what happens with it also, we want to bring in fresh green to that mix of colors. When we bring in that fresh green, it gives us what? Instead of doom and gloom, a sense of hope. Things are happening. What's next on the horizon? Yes, we know it's going to be Turbonite and Porsche, but what's next in the floral industry with these color combinations? So you can see behind me, I did a grouping, and I'll bring this up forward just a little bit so you can see. Um, Once again, the black container or Turbonite container. Uh, and this would be the thicket. It has a nice gloss finish to it, but in floral materials, very hard, precise groupings of materials, such as the purple hydrangea, the green hydrangea, and then something out of this world that a lot of people don't understand, Asclepsia, the butterfly pods. And those are so cool. I've always enjoyed having those around and, seasonable. But again, it's something different. It makes the consumer not I don't want to say want to touch those, but it gives that interest into your design work by using so hard of groupings together. That becomes that sophistication of not just your normal mix design. When we look at bringing in that fresh green into your design world, I want to say look at it was just for flowers is the color that is part of the trend, fresh green. And then we want to see also other items that are available in fresh green, such as even like the mini Phalaenopsis orchids. Again, in a simple pot, but again, very sophisticated, very modern take. Has a little bit of texturing in it, but as far as when you're merchandising items such as in your store, bring in collections once again together. It makes a much stronger statement. So this particular piece from Accent Decor was great shape. It also has the hole in the top, once again, for floral materials, plant materials. I've even planted an orchid in this particular container. So it gives us a new twist over just a pot, but something so unique and out of this world looking, bring it together. very, once again, simple, to the point, and sophisticated. When you take in the combinations of colors, such as the blue and purple together, that seem relatively very deep and very strong. The next design up, I did the Oasis mesh here, which is the gold color that was brought into the design. Just a hint of it. It doesn't need to be solid gold or flashy gold all over, but just a hint of gold metal into the design next to your purple and blues, and you can see what that does as far as that combination. The gold gives it life. Just like in the paint or metallic paints, you'll see maybe some gold flecking in it. The container itself, once again, is on that thicket side, not quite black, but the gray side. And that is such a cool color, by the way, to work with, to bounce off of. But by bringing in the delphinium in here in purple, and also the delphinium in blue, I've also brought in pansies and tucked those into this design. Again, our branch materials lead us to the height and also encircled. When we think about the space and we think about planetary forms, I thought of this one as being what? The round farm. So it's encircled within this design, keeping us in that earthly mode and again on the dark side. And who knows where we'll be next trend time around. Maybe we'll be on Mars at that point in time. And it's just that imagination and how far we can go with things and describing trends, but what our mind can do and where we can fulfill our needs with not only the trends, but our livelihood and consumerism itself. For the next trend, I have what is called ambition. Ambition is based off of the earth element. And when you think of true earth element, we're going from space back down to earth, reality check. We want to look at the floral industry as being what? Sustainable, uh, other things that play a factor. We're aware of our environment, we're aware of our surroundings, inside and outside now these days. What do we drive? Electric or combustible? All those things play an important role in consideration of all these different, again, floral trends. We take in a lot of inspiration and the research that goes into it. So when you look at colorations for this one, we want to look at the colorations that were key factors as far as the earth goes. And so we want to look at colors such as basil and then the moss green brought into play. So we have the darker, really deep, once again, moss green that will play a role in this particular trend. But basil will be your one that lightens up that palette slightly. When you're looking at other colors that are going to be number one key color would be the Design Master in its black cherry. When you look at black cherry, it is a burgundy shade. And you think of cherry, 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 and think about the relationship to cherry and how it fulfills needs from maybe a little bit lighter to a little bit darker in the natural product itself. We have also colors such as wild rose brought into play. And we also have what is called peachy. And then we have the French blue brought together. If you're old enough, you've probably seen these combinations before. Yes, they're back again, but it's not necessarily like any of these trends. You have to use these two together. Think outside the box a little bit and let's negate this one and let's bring in wild rose and peachy together for the first design element in here. We look at the color of the year for actually 2024, and we think about peach fuzz was the color of the year. Of course, those colors last longer than 1 year because people buy things. The consumer buys things, and they're not going to change things overnight. So, with the Design Master color called Peachy, it was perfect. Naturalness, once again, the hyacinth reed basket that these were placed into. And you can see the combinations using the peachy and then also using the wild rose in here. What a beautiful combination together. And by softness, such as like the eucalyptus, again, a key flower is the hellebore that's taking off and is now readily available. It was one of those precious little flowers that I couldn't wait to get my hands on. But now we have all sorts of hellebores that are available throughout the year, which is a good thing. And so bringing in other key factors, and we want to look at the actual design itself behind me. And I want to show you by bringing in these two colors, the actual dark cherry and then the wild rose. Up above, we have the arrangement. And yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. And then we have these colors all together up here in this particular design. Very large, very showstopper. But remember that when you're merchandising, make a showstopper in your store. Get that attraction. If it's in your window, if it's in the middle of your store, and if you're buying materials, show them off. Don't have them tucked away in boxes or in the back room somewhere. Bring it out, display your items, and make that wow factor brought in. But, reality check. It all comes down to what size, scale, and proportion of where things can fall, not only in your store, but other things. So I just brought, once again, bag of cherries. Uh, at AIFD, I had a bowl of cherries. They were all gone. We had to keep replenishing. So maybe that's part of your appetizer in your store is merchandising. Have some food items out there. Never delete some of the things. When you're looking at ribbon combinations and ribbons that can be brought into play, I saw this ribbon at D. Stevens, and it was the perfect combination, as you can see, the color palette in it and the detailing. Very, very precise, almost that Williamsburg feeling. And when we think of the farmhouse and the farmhouse tradition in here, we want to look at the farmhouse as not shiplap anymore, but an expanded version of that. So we take in consideration, and again, with Charlie working closely with him, and then also several other consultants, and including Accent Decor. We talked about the farmhouse look, and it's not just one look anymore. It has influences of maybe Williamsburg, but also a French influence to it. Think of the French countryside, think of that Italian villa, the English garden with gathered items, fresh cuts from the garden. So again, it's worldly, globally brought back into this palette called ambition. And ambition, we want to succeed with all of what we're doing in this particular trend with the earth. And then we have other products and ribbons such as very heavy texturing of like the black cherry. And then also we have the moss green brought into play. So you can see the beautiful texturing and combination of this. Don't think of ribbon once again as using it as a bow all the time. Even Elizabeth just saw this just briefly ago and she's like, where did you get this? And I said, well, I created it. And it was actually created out of the ribbon, the darker green ribbon, and cut and clipped together, wired and taped once again on the backside to create a floret That was, I wish you could see this in person. And of course, you'd want to touch it because the texturing is so incredible. And this can be combined, floral work, but into design work. So a lot of times, even with your ribbons, think outside the box, not just a bow to be put on something and how that can be incorporated into it. But size, scale, and proportion have a large part to play in this. So instead of the large, I want to say hotel lobby piece I did in the back, I wanted to bring it down to scale. And down to scale meaning using some items like the rustic wire from Oasis. And if you can give me, let me show the example of the rustic. Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. So if you don't know what that is, the rustic wire on a spool made into an armature, and then all my materials that were in this particular design are all, once again, hand wired and taped. The ranunculus brought in a little bit of the hydrangea, some tiny orchid blooms brought into play, but you can tell the coloration, the wild rose, and please don't call it mauve. Wild rose seems like it's more up to date. It's kind of like don't go back to peach and blue. Think of it as wild rose. Again, history repeats itself, but let's come up with some new acceptable names for these new generations of people that weren't exposed to all those kind of combinations in the past. So I'll keep moving on, but wild cherry and the black cherry, and then bringing in a little bit of the orchid into it gives us that size, scale, and proportion with a lot of detailed work. So if you do have a large lobby piece, make sure you come down to scale on some other pieces that you're in your store, other offerings that you can have, such as something so simplified as a little bouquet like this. Wedding work, yes. And then when we want to look at how classic combinations come to play, I want to bring this in. The classic blue and white, we think of, is it a trend or is it a classic? Well, blue and white is a classic. But when we look at the classic patterns, like that ribbon from D. Stevens, this particular container from Windward is the green and white of that classic blue and white pattern. And then also the materials that were brought in here. We have olive branches. I spoke of that Italian influence. So you think of olive trees, Greece, Italy, Euringium brought in gives us that nice French blue. Some lilac that was branched lilac cut in, tipped with the French blue also. Some eucalyptus pods brought in, a little bit of fern, and then again, tucked way inside of the design, the French blue hydrangea. When you're incorporating trends just for every day, but also in holiday mode, and our next holiday coming up, and it's basically started on Sunday, autumnal equinox, the fall season, and where that plays an important role in our shops, not only merchandising and keeping in mind uh, things that can be incorporated, not your normal orange color all the time. Give people some options. So when I was at the store, I saw these perfectly little gourds that had the green and white to it. Um, just some neat things. And then again, all the way the darkness to the moss green ones. And these could be incorporated into your design work, simply laid in. Um, and I'm just doing this as a demo right now to be picked into your design where it transitions. Once again, you might think of it not so seasonal. Now you bring in those seasonal items into it, and now you have a whole new look with what's going on in that particular design and formatting. So remember, nature, sustainable, earthiness, not so much your normal farmhouse, but expand your horizon with your farmhouse look with some ambition. Next up, we have the term called rejuvenate. Rejuvenate is based off of the water sign. So when we look at water and we look at how water influences not only the earth itself and that whole ambitious feeling, but rejuvenation to a point where we want to accept water as our living source. Not only do we need water, our flowers sure need water. Put it that way. Hydration is key to longevity and flowers. Uh, and as we all know or should know at this point in the industry. But again, fresh water too is key. So change the water out. But when we want to look at rejuvenate, and that color palette is very striking, um, and and very bold to a point where it has no age. Water, the sourcing of it and the coloration, we want to think of as timeless and rejuvenating some items back together. So we have, we want to look at uh, the pinks were very, very strong in the marketplace. And we had predicted those with those Barbie pinks and the Barbie colorations. So those still play an important role. So we have the raspberry color now brought into play as our fuchsia color. And then again, perfect pink brought onward or forward because it's like you can't get rid of it that fast. But then the key color going into here, we wanted to look at the actual color called robin's egg. Once again, we have that teal, softer side, which will play an important role in this whole trend and combination. But also we have what is brought in, and the darker side also is we have cranberry that kind of offsets or really helps bring in that brightness to the darkness. And then if you want to add that extra little twist to it, we have the coral. So one of the things when we were discussing all these color palettes and color expectations of Rejuvenate was that, God, there's some strong colors in there, but yet we've added, from fuchsia, we go to coral, and that's where you can take out the pink to it and add the coral element to it. Or you can take out the coral element and then go the deepest, darkest one, the cranberry mix together. And it gives you a whole new light, a new insight on this color trend. When you're picking and choosing uh, other things, when I go light to dark, again, you can take ribbons such as this right here with the actual cranberry shading to it. And then we also bring in what? That blue color to it, which is another whole twist to this color combination, which makes it so, so interesting. Again, bringing in the lighter pinks to it. We can look at pink being the soft element to here, and with motifs such as like the bee, one of those items we keep referring to. But also remember for the holidays that color combinations like the burgundy to the fuchsias or the hotter pinks are really cool. You can bring in that lighter color brought into here, which really, really work for the holiday period. And then when you're looking at ribbons and other things or ornamentations for the holidays, don't negate some of the brighter ones or some of the what used to be called, I don't want to say jewel tones, but when you bring in this combination for the holidays, it gives us a whole new outlook on the red and green and white theme. Of course, that's a given, that's a number one, but think of other ways you can do and use color and compatibles together. So again, if you have to on the website, this is located at the bottom. Each one of the color palettes are given to you, not only in the flip book, you can see them, but at the end of the web page at the bottom there, you'll be able to see all the 6 colors per trend. Print those out, just like these are actually hand sprayed cards with the true Design Master colors on it. Mix and match. Come up with your own storyboards for fall, whatever your specials are going to be for, and I hate to say, Valentine's, Mother's Day, but we have to think that forward in our industry. Or you'll be left behind, just like the trends. Think forward. It's all about forward thinking in it. And with the next design, if Elizabeth, will you bring that one over? And we might have to, thank you. When I say bright, bold, and beautiful, I mean it. The silver container here brings us that shallow area to it. And then by fanciful, and I talk about fanciful and loosely arranged, we'll see more and more design styles that are where the flowers just literally coming out of the design. And you'll see that on trend quite often now. The event business has embraced this already, but you'll be seeing it more and more in our retail world, where the flowers really stand out. We have it based with the bougainvillea, and then also bringing in these deep cranberry ranunculus and a little bit of the brighter ranunculus. These were so gorgeous, the coloration on it. Probably one of my favorite little flowers that play a role in this particular trend. When we want to look at other colors, such as bringing in brightness that I haven't brought up yet, is what we call lemon. So when you're bringing in lemon to this combination, we talked about yellow, yellow at the beginning, but now we have raspberry, lemon, lemon, and the coral all brought together. So just as a quick glimpse, I know it was up high, and I'm going to walk it back a bit so you can kind of see it and give you a visual overview of all those color combinations together. It's that brightness brought in with those very soft ones. And so you can see, again, don't negate bringing in that fuchsia with coral, and try it. You'll like it. And then also I have to talk about designers and as craftsmen in our industry, in the floral industry, on how we can play a very important role in creating things that mean something to people. The craftsmanship. We're not cookie cutters. Like I mentioned, the trends span regions from the east to the west, to the north to the south. But again, where do we play that role to make ourselves a little bit different? And so by bringing in, I want to say, robin's egg, a fuchsia, coral, and cranberry all together, I created a neck piece. So don't ever negate flowers to wear portion either when you're working with trends. Of course, for the holidays, combinations, but flowers to wear for proms, other things that you might have coming down the pike with the newer generation. So if you don't mind, I'll remove my glasses. And there we go. Like I said, beauty has no age limitations. So I would like to thank not only FTD, all the people that are involved with American Floral Trends and the success that we're having so far with it. Don't forget about the website, the flip book, all the colors that are there. We also have videos available of the trends as an introduction. And if you have a little bit of time, you can watch the whole video that is now on YouTube through the AIFD Foundation, or just simply search on it. But again, thank you, FTD, for your sponsorship of the American Floral Trends and this particular webinar. Thank you again for attending, and I look forward to seeing your creations too online.
Hey, Keith, thanks for sharing a lot of great information with us. That's pretty cool. We are open for questions. Don't run anywhere because I've got questions for you.
I won't
All you have
run
to do, guys, if
anywhere.
you have any more questions, type them in the question box on your control panel. I also want to remind everybody too, I dropped in the chat the link for the American Floral Trends booklet. So that is in the chat. Questions, Keith. All right. Sherry wants to know, what's your go-to media for trend setting, like websites, magazines, etc.?
What's my go-to
Yes,
for
for trend setting.
my go-to? AmericanFloralTrends.com.
I think what is she maybe looking at, you know, because she was saying, yeah, what media, what's your daily media consumption? What do you go, you know, where are you looking when you're looking to trends? What's kind of maybe, I don't know, maybe the question is more of your like research.
For research. Well, again, it's a whole consulting team that we have. So I don't want to speak just for myself because it is an actual consulting team. And we all have our specialties of where we see things, where we look for things. So it's a conglomeration that's being brought together. So again, I can't emphasize and say, oh, this is the number one spot you should look. That's why I say, just stick with American Floral Trends. It's all here for you.
Oh, okay. And yeah, Sherry said, do you live it? What are your, you have any secrets? Any?
Secret for the American Floral Trends?
Yeah.
The crystal ball says it all.
We do
Charlie
have another
gave that to
question.
me the other day. I have to give him credit for that one. He said, we were talking about ombre, that trend, and it's really how it is taking off. And I was again, and that kind of answers the previous question you had. And it does take the group of us because some of it's, it's like the rejuvenation. Somebody could see the colors together, but then they just didn't get bringing in cranberry and then dropping down to more of a pastel or those brighter pinks, raspberry with some of the softer colors. They just didn't see it. Well, I was one of those people that when we were looking at ombre, and normally we have 4 trends, is that I didn't want to include such a dark palette. But yet, through this consulting group that I have together, everyone has a vote and they had enough feedback and enough research done that they came back to me and said, Keith, you cannot kill ombre. We have to add a trend this time and do 5. So that's what I mean. There's not one go-to place that I have, or I think anyone on the consulting team looks at on the internet. We do wide global research for this to make it right and make it spot on each time.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. Another question. As you said, colors and trends are cyclical. How long does it take for a trend or color to become popular once again when they go out?
Uh, a lot of that has to do, I want to say, with, and that's one thing we look at too, economics. Are the colors brighter? Someone said, there's not a lot of metals that you're showing this time around. Well, that's part of it. Rich or poor, Olympics, yes, meaning gold medal, silver medal, bronze medal. We went through the Olympics, but that was for what? 2024. We're looking at 25, 26 projections. So that's why we took in consideration by bringing in not a medal per trend. But again, I showed you like Embrace, that bouquet had gold and silver in it. It's okay to mix metals. It's okay to do things like that. So you are bringing in roundabout things, and looking at economics would be a lot of the key thing for cyclical things. The color, and you have to look at Pacific blue. Many years ago, and I wanted to get an exact year on that. I was working on some projects for American Floral Trends, and we needed that color Pacific blue. And Design Master did come up with that. And here we are now. Here it is back in cycle again. So history does repeat itself. It's not determined if it's going to be a 1 year or 2 year turnaround. And as trends go, we have to look at the flowers that are grown because those have to be planted, seeded, and and before they're all available for us. And that was the start of American Floral Trends was with the California Cut Flower Commission, working directly with the growers on availability of product. So you might see one rose that's the greatest rose right now, or one flower, and there's limited production on it. So that's another thing that we backed away from, was to emphasize, oh, toffee rose is the greatest rose there is. And yes, it's beautiful and all that, but availability and price points can fluctuate some. It's more common now than it was 2 years, 3 years ago when we really wanted to introduce it. So we kept away from introducing so many specific flower varieties because of production values, and the growers appreciate that, and also the florists appreciate it at this point.
Okay, okay. We've got another question. In the Ambition collection, in that trend, what was the
Yeah,
source for the last vase that you showed?
the vase,
Yes,
which one?
the
The
last one that you
green,
showed,
the green, the classic green and white. It's from Windward Silks.
Windward Silks.
And one of the things you might not have noticed too is the large one behind it. In order for me to get the moss element, literally, in there, that is a floral cooler bucket from Oasis. It's the clear one. And I put just a few rocks to weight it slightly at the bottom, did that arrangement in it, and started layering sheet moss within the interior of that design. So it gives us back to that earth element, and again, recyclable materials and reusable materials within it. It's kind of a cool look. I know the
Yeah,
lighting and the reflection, you can't see all the detail. And I'm such a detail person. I want to tell you everything I did detail wise.
yeah. All right, we've got another question from Candy. Do you recommend creating designs in each trend and posting them on social media to find what seems to be more popular in their area? Do you have any tips for that?
That they want to take the American floral trends and do their own trends. Is that
No,
what
I
I'm
don't.
hearing?
No, I think she's asking, like, she's trying to figure out, like, maybe she doesn't think all of 5 of those trends are going to be popular with their customers or in the area where they, where she lives. So, would you suggest doing, creating some designs in each trend, doing pictures, posting them, maybe doing a series on social media and seeing what gathers more, what gets more interest from their customers, and then maybe because then she wants to lean more heavily into that trend.
I would do that definitely. And I've had other designers ask me that. And it's taking, and I would do it just really precisely when you're doing those introductions to your trends on your social media site or your website. Please, you're welcome to use all the names of the trends, which help tremendously. You don't have to come up with that. Please use all these Design Master colors. It helps tremendously, and making everything unified going forward with it. And so look at one of the trends itself and then pick some items. Where do you want to showcase it? Is it going to be a seasonal design? Is it going to be something that you want to show different wedding bouquets with? Pick a few things that you can get these color combinations across. What I always say is, don't confuse the customer. Keep it lasered in. Don't give them so many choices that they just get confused with what trend. And it's almost like weddings, with people coming in and saying they want that boho look. I call it the boohoo look. It's out like burlap and lace. Again, we're still seeing it, but it's how to go to that next step with your consumer. Yes, pick ambition, pick those cherry colors, It's very much in tune with that kind of trend going on, as far as more on the earth side of weddings, or the sophisticated side or neutral palette with the whisper. So show that, and again, laser in on a few things and not have it so broad spectrum on each trend for each design. Keep your designs tight, meaning focus. Give them, a true focus on what they're looking at. Again, and you could do it by the week. This week we're doing embrace. So come up with 5 designs that show the embrace trend and your different color palettes. It works really well even in the design room to experiment with these color combinations put together.
Oh, okay. Quick question then. Somebody was asking where they can find the ribbon. Was all the ribbon D. Stevens?
Yes, all the ribbons that were shown today are from Dee Stevens Ribbon.
Okay.
She's located in Arizona as her main headquarters. She has showrooms in Dallas and Atlanta, and have worked with Donna for so many years on things. If it's product development of ribbons, or even she gets it. It's kind of like Laura Dowling. And that's what's so cool about the consulting team. Each one has their specialty, each one gets it. There's no questioning each other on things that you go forward. And she has beautiful, beautiful products. Again, right
Okay.
spot on with colors.
Okay. Couple more questions still. Of the 5 trends, which one do you think will be the most popular?
It depends on your marketplace.
Mhm.
It depends on your region. Uh, when you're looking at, I mentioned Whisper, we're giving that a #1 color trend as far as weddings go and as far as interior design space goes. We want to look at really closely, though, the embrace trend, because with the embrace trend, that becomes the people that are going, I don't like trends, I'm not following trends, but they're trending themselves on what they surround themselves with. And after our global shutdown that we had a few years back now, we became more homebodies. We surrounded ourselves with things that made us feel good. And that's where this trend really accelerated. It doesn't matter if you mix Art Deco and French together, or if you went on a trip and you bought something and you like it. This is for that person, and I want to say that is maximalist look to it. Um, People want to surround themselves these days with things that they like. They might not be that cookie cutter person that lives in a beige world. They want to have their surroundings. So really watch Embrace as it comes to play with all these different uh, things, because uh, and back again, cyclical colors, Pacific blue. Think about 1920s, 17 exactly, Maxfield Parrish. He developed out of 5 colors that he worked with on the print press for all this advertising media that he did. He actually was termed that he came up with the color Parish blue. You take Parish blue and you compare it to Pacific blue, or now Valspar's color of the year, um, it's there. So just keep in mind of all those things, not only repetition, but what's going to be the best on the marketplace. And then again, I can't speculate because I don't know what area you're in, or your marketplace. But those two are really kind of cool. But again, all 5 trends this time are extremely, extremely strong, and very proud of them.
Okay. Um, and then we've got another question. Looks like last 2 questions. Do you, and my guess is, because she said you suggest you play with the colors, so my guess is that would be a resounding yes.
Yes. Mix and match.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last question I see, if you can just quickly run through the 5 names of the trends. She's missing one.
Sure. The trend names, the first one that we covered was embrace, which is that fire element or relationship to fire, the fire within. Then we have whisper, and that as far as elements go, and I so wanted to keep with earth element, but that is the wind. We have umbre, which is based on space, meaning up above us. And then we have ambition, which is where we live, earth elements. And then we have rejuvenate, which is based off of water and the water elements that we all need to survive in.
Awesome. Thanks, Keith. All right. Well, it looks like we are out of questions for today. That was a lot of great questions, a lot of great content. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us today. A recording will be available on demand on the FTD Mercury Network Florist YouTube channel. And for more education programming from FTD, please visit ftdi.com to register for those upcoming free webinars and design shows, as well as viewing the past education programs on demand. Thanks, everyone.